Hello, welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
I'm so looking forward to this one.
You know what? This is the one that all the parents come to the class wanting to hear. It's like I start out with, oh, let's reach your child's heart. Let's do that. And they're like, yeah, but what about the discipline? What do you do to discipline? What do you do? What do you do?
Well, you're going to find out.
This is it.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yay. I love it because I like the word discipline because it is actually from the word disciple. So you're teaching your kid. You're not, beating them up.
Right.
And these ideas actually touch the heart. We talked about we don't want just a behavior change because we don't want the behavior to continue. Mm-hmm. So, and they'll keep doing it again and again. You pop them on the bum and that's that for that time. Well, it changed their behavior, but did it change what caused the behavior or did it change their heart? So these correction ideas are ones that reach into your child's heart.
Perfect.
If you do not have a plan for correction, just like you have a plan for direction, you're going to get angry. It's going to happen. You're going to use your anger. So we want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a plan. And basically that has to start with setting your expectations as a parent, because our expectations are that they are little angels and they are going to obey us when we tell them things. And we're going to get home from work and we're going to cook dinner. We're going to have this sweet little perfect little thing. We're going to put them to bed. They're going to take their bath and do all that. And guess what? They throw it off the rails by misbehaving. And your whole routine is messed up, and we don't like our routines to be messed up.
Right.
And now we're going to have to take time out of what we were doing to go deal with this.
Right.
So we're already frustrated. We're already not having a great time, and it's all about us. Mm-hmm. So really, if you just have kind of a plan for what happens when things go off the rails, it keeps you from
going off the
crazy.
rails. Yeah.
And that oh no thing is so good. Oh no. And those are like my two favorite words. So you'll get to know what those are. But you really do have to have a mindset that correction is going to happen. And not only that, it's part of the job, but it's a great chance to teach your child something. So we're going to look at it that way when we do this.
Cool.
So a good correction routine starts with words. Stop it. Do they stop it? Do they get why you want them to stop it? Mm-hmm. Especially littles, they love routine. So that child will open and close that cabinet door about 80 times just because they like the routine of it. They're not doing it because it's driving you crazy. They have no ulterior motive behind this. They just don't want to. Okay, stop it. If they stop it, guess what? We're done. Again, we are raising adults. That's how we reprimand each other. Mm-hmm. Adults reprimand other adults with words.
Right.
I can't remember the last time Pastor Larry put me on restriction because I blew something at work. It's how we get disciplined. Mm-hmm. So again, we're raising adults. So this is our ultimate goal, that our kids will be disciplined with just our words and not mean words. Mm-hmm. Just, we're not going to do that because of this. Mm-hmm. And they get it. Now, in the perfect world, that would work. It doesn't. But your first stance is to take a break and go change your heart. Now, take a break is not time out. And we're going to talk about the difference between, because everybody pretty much knows what time out is. Mm-hmm. It's where you set a timer for your child, preferably about for the minutes that they are in age. So if they're 2, you set the timer for 2 minutes, and then they go and sit, and then they come back in 2 minutes. Or they go for 3 minutes and they come back. Yeah, we don't want to do that. We want a child to take a break. So let's talk about the difference between take a break and timeout.
So you just said timeout is not a thing to do.
Timeout's not a thing.
Okay.
Let's do take a break.
Okay.
I like it. It's much better. And I'll tell you the 3 distinctives, and you tell me what you think if it's better.
Okay.
So the take a break, the child is sent on a mission to change their heart. So you are basically not just working on the behavior change. Okay, so son, you hit your sister and that's the wrong thing to do. You need to go take a break and change your heart. Whoa. It's rather, wow, what was that?
Caleb, you need to go take a break.
Caleb, take a break. It's rather vague, and our goal here is to be practical, but as we talk about how it changes the heart, it's still complicated. So we're going to break this down into steps.
Okay.
So basically what we're teaching is repentance, which is a really big word. And you need to go repent. and then come back. That's not a thing. Basically, it starts with settling down. Okay. Everybody needs to settle down. This is the key thing. Do not tell a child that is in the throes of a tantrum to go take a break.
Right.
You may have to pick them up and make them quit having a tantrum and calm them down before you can even talk to them rationally about taking a break.
Right.
So it's the settling down. We're not going to throw things. We're not going to continue fighting. We're not going to do everything. We're just going to settle down. Another part of that is admitting that they did wrong. So you say, son, you hit your sister. That was the wrong thing to do. Please go take a break. I didn't hit her. She made me blah, blah, blah. Rah, rah, rah. Now you're arguing. This is not settling down. Okay. I saw you hit your sister. Your sister said you hit her. Let's find out the facts. Okay, what all this, but we're going to make sure everything's settled down. Okay, well, it did come to light you hit your sister. So you need to admit that you were wrong. And then we need to think about better ways that we can handle this. So there is a better way than hitting your sister. So I want you to go take a break and think about it. Now, Kylie was a totally obedient child. She was ridiculous. And she had a stare, which at the time we called the timeout stare. Mm-hmm. But instead of giving her a timeout, even when she was little, I would say, I want you to go think about 2 ways you could have handled that differently. And she was usually pretty good. Well, I could have come and told you, and I could have. And so one day she was sitting on her stair, and I'm like, where was she? She was gone a really long time. And I went in there, and I'm like, and she's sitting on the stair. I could only think of one. Oh. And I'm like, oh, baby, I am so sorry. I just kind of left her in limbo forever. But it is good for them to be thinking about how they could handle it different. It helps their heart change. But yeah, that made me feel really, really bad. Bad parenting moment.
So obedient.
I know, but she did. She just sat there on that little stair. Oh. And maybe don't expect, also make it like if they're 2, maybe only give them one thing to think of, or don't even give them a thing to think of. Just ask them to go change their heart. Mm-hmm. So, you hope that a child has a desire to do the right thing, but maybe they don't really feel sorrow for what they did. They're glad they hit their sister because their sister kept taking this toy that they wanted. And so they didn't have any other way to defend themselves. They couldn't get their toy back, so they hit their sister. Mm-hmm. So they don't really feel like what they did was wrong, even though it is. Mm-hmm. Do not make a child apologize if they don't mean it. Ooh. Come on, Rita. You know what it sounds like. Tell me.
Yep. Sorry.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And does the child saying it believe it?
No.
Does the child receiving it believe it?
No.
So go apologize to your sister.
Right.
My mother used to make us kiss or sit and hold hands. It's the worst.
Especially if I was angry with a sibling, I would never want to do that.
It was the worst. Oof. Oh yeah, it was terrible. Now, later they realize that they need to be sorry. Maybe if the take a break works as it does, and maybe they'll commit to feeling what's right, and maybe they will feel sorrow and desire to do what's right. Now, you can say, do you understand what you did was wrong? Yes. Okay. Well, you can go to your sister and say, what I did was wrong. Will you please forgive me? Even though you're not really sorry. So it's kind of an apology, but still, if they do have a heart change, a lot of times they can come back and apologize and feel sorrow for what they did. Maybe they're just angry at the moment, and that calm down and that sitting and thinking about it will lead them to that conclusion. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
So if it's not the apologize, it's the just go show that you understand you did something wrong.
Right.
Okay.
That you understand what you did was wrong. You're not necessarily sorry you hit her, but will you forgive me? But don't make a child say they're sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
It's just not good. It's not good. So the other difference between a take a break and a timeout is that in a take a break, the child determines the length of the time that they're gone.
Oh, nice.
It may take one child 10 minutes to think about what they did and that it was wrong. It may take another child 2 minutes. Now, when they come back and they go, sorry, my heart's changed. You go, no, bye-bye. Run along, let's try that again, because you don't really seem like your heart is changed. Mm-hmm. But if you, for instance, put a 10-year-old who was like, yeah, I know it was really wrong to hit my sister. I should really go back and apologize. You tell them that they have to go sit in there for 10 minutes.
Right.
Why do I have to sit here? I get it. I get that I was wrong. Oh, great. You know what? When I get out of here, I'm going to go to my room and I'm not talking to anybody the rest of the It's just going to give them all this time to ruminate over the negativity of it all.
Right.
I already changed my heart. I already said I was sorry, you know? And so it'll be discouraging to them. So you don't really want that either. But if they come out too soon and you obviously see that it's not, you can send them back for another little.
So if they do the whole, I realize what I did was wrong, I'm going to go apologize. You're like, okay, go do it.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And the last part is because we don't set the time, we're not the jailer. We're not the sentencer here. We're not the executioner.
Right.
No, we're sorry that you did the wrong thing. You need to go sit in timeout. But you know what? I'm waiting here. I want you to come back. So come back and let's talk about it. Like, oh, you are sorry? Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, I love you. There's grace. You know, so you're not the, yep. And you know what? I had a friend that used to hold her son in timeout. I would think he would do something wrong just to go get that quality time with his mother. Mac woulda. Oh, he would have loved that. It's like, oh no, no. So I don't know how that works, but you can tell him to go back and redo it. And like I said, you're there waiting for the little prodigal son. Hey, I'm right here. I am on your side about this. Oh no, I'm sorry. You have to go take a break because you really blew it. I'm on your side. We're not adversaries here.
Right.
I'm trying to teach you to do the right thing. That's where the disciple comes, the discipline comes in. I'm trying to teach you how to do the right thing. I'm not mad at you. I'm not going to condemn you for this wrong you did. We're going to work it out together.
Right. Now, let's say this is something that parents are implementing now. So this is not something that the child has grown up with. What do you do when they keep coming back and doing the I'm sorry and they're not actually thinking through and they're not actually doing this? What's a good piece of advice the parent could give to the child? Like, this is kind of what I'm looking for you to do. Like, you don't want to give them the answer because then they'll just puppet it. So like, what if the kid's struggling with figuring out how to change their heart? Is there advice for that? Are you going to go through that?
Then you're going to move to the toolbox of consequences.
Okay. Nice.
Because you do the words and then you do the take a break. And if those don't work, we got some other stuff lined up for you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's all fun. And a lot of times, probably more times than not, I talk about take a break. And then, like, there will be at least 3 parents in the room going, that is never going to work. I can just see how this is going to go down.
Right.
So I think the more you practice it, the better it works. And I think if you do say something like, you need to go, okay, I changed my heart, whatever. Okay, what are you going to do differently? And they go, I don't know. Well, you didn't change your heart. So that's part of it. So if you can go think of something you should have done differently and come back, then you also see a heart change. Oh, I could have come to get you. You would have gotten my toy back from my sister. Yeah, that's probably what I should have done. So you're giving them some additional tools. So really the motivation is you're missing out on family life. You're missing out on what we're getting to do here. You are excommunicated until you get it figured out. We love you and we're still here. And once you figure this out, you can come back. So that's really what you want to do, the motivation. And that's why I love a lot of this stuff. It is based on your relationship with your child. You want your relationship with your child to be so good that they are missing out if they're not with you. So they want to change their heart. They want to come be a part of it. You're at the park. Hey, you took Sally's toy away from her. So what you need to do is go sit under that tree, think about what you did, and then come back to me. Well, their heart's probably going to get changed pretty quick because they're missing out on the park, you know? And so even if it's not completely sincere, if they come back to you and tell you they understand what they did was wrong and they take Sally's toy back to her, or, you know, go to Sally and tell her they're sorry about how they took the toy away from her or whatever, you know, they got something.
Right. So it's up to the parent to kind of gauge where that's happening and what's appropriate for you. Because obviously,
and what's age appropriate as well, because I'm telling you, applying the break in your family is good for young to old. Like your teenager, you just may have to send them off to, you know what, you need to take a break. You're really being disrespectful to me right now. And this is not going to go well. Go take a break.
Yeah. I gotta say, as an adult,
take a break.
I was going to say, as an adult, that's like one of the best things that I can do, it may not work for everybody, but when I have a moment to just sit back, you really do think about things differently.
Right.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. And that welcoming them back and saying, this is done, this is over. Remember in the correction routine, how we had the inspect and release?
Right.
And it takes that icky, I didn't do it right feeling out for the kid. That's what this coming back does.
Right.
Come report back to me when you're done. When they come back, oh, good, you get it. Hey, I love you. Thank you. That brings the closeness back.
Right.
That brings closure to
Right.
the event. So they're not over there going, I really wasn't sorry, and I really got out of take a break, and
Right.
And it's that settle down time, and you're just learning to break that cycle of just arguing and you know, I've talked about how my kids knew I was serious about something when I talked through my teeth, you know. This is just a better way of doing that without the anger
Right.
issue being attached to it. Now, again, I have those parents, oh, he'll just completely melt down. Oh, if I tell him to sit here, he will sit 5 feet away. If I tell him to report back, he will disappear, you know. Okay, well, guess what? When they come back and they sat over 5 feet, it's like, yeah, we didn't handle the take a break right. So if you want to go do it again, because obviously if they're not sitting where you told them to, they're not changing their heart.
Right.
That's part of that attitude. That's an attitude action that is a clue that they're not getting it. So, again, you're kind of a detective.
Yeah.
Here you go. I think it's really funny.
Right.
But a lot of times this is, even with a teenager, it's now you've moved away from the issue and moved to the process. It's like, can you take me to the mall? No, you never let me do anything. And now we're having this, oh, you need to go take a break. We're not even going to talk about taking you to the mall until we talk about how this just went down. You know, so even with teenagers, this is a thing that you can implement. You can go, you know what? You need to go take a break. Now, you're not going to go, here's a little spot on the floor in the kitchen where I can see you for your teenager. But, you know, tell them to go take a break. And when you've had a heart change, you could come, oh, Mom, I'm sorry. I was just really upset because so-and-so is going to be at the mall and you know, and you talk it out. Like, where did that come from?
Right.
With my daughter, it was because she was hungry. You go eat some Cheerios and take a break and come back and talk to me about this.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times you would find out the blow up was over something as
Right.
simple as them being tired or hangry.
Right.
And same with small children. Like, don't tell them to go take a break if they are really hungry and having a hissy meltdown
Right.
fit. It's not helping. Or if you know that it's nap time, yeah, and don't start this routine at bedtime because they will not take a break properly. My heart hasn't really changed. They'll break for an hour in a corner rather than have to go to bed if they are not a child that likes to go to bed.
Right. So it's all about just diving a little deeper.
Yeah.
Got to figure out why.
Yeah. And if they're having a hard time figuring out how they can do things differently, talk to them about it. Well, you know what? You should have come to get me. And we could have handled this together. Or next time this happens, why don't you do this first?
So giving them suggestions as they're learning this process, just to kind of say, this is kind of what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
So I can see some parents being frustrated with the, like, you're not getting it, so I'm just going to give you the answer. That seems to be, in my mind at least, like, you probably shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do the work for them. So is too much, like, if you're like, this is what I'm looking for, and you give them a list of things, they need to be age appropriate. They need to be something they can actually do, something that you would actually follow through.
Right.
So don't give them false.
They could implement these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a great thing. I want to do a little side note. This is a Susanism. It is called not an option. There are things for your children. I should have done this in the accept no for an answer. The climbing over the back of the booth at the restaurant, that is not an option. We immediately go to the car if that happens. You know, Mac, I think, was like 3 when he saw a small child walking through the grocery store that was not in the cart, like walking along beside me or picking things off the shelf or grabbing the coupons and stuff was just not an option. He had to sit in the basket. Or I think at some point they got the little cars or whatever, but just walking around in the grocery store was not an option. And he would literally look at small children like, wow,
how
that
free.
kid's walking. Yeah. So there are certain things that are not an option. I just wanted to do that on the side.
Nice.
But we need to take a break. And sometimes that is the most torturous thing you can do to your child. You know what? You really upset me. I need to go take a break and think about this. I need to think about how we're going to handle this situation. Not a big deal. Now, I think Larry would say Ryan was the one that was like, just beat me. Like, please don't make me do this.
Yeah.
Like, don't make me wait.
Yeah.
So, but it's good. You need to calm down.
Right.
You need to, get it together. Avoid engaging with children who are angry. When children are angry, it's an angry party. They hand out invitations. And guess what? We are the first ones to come in. They just know how to push our buttons. So if the child gets angry, we are jumping in there and just getting angry with them. If you don't bite, it's like you drop your end of the rope. They have nobody to tug a war with.
Right.
So, and again, call in whatever their anger is. I know you're frustrated. And they go, oh, I'm frustrated? Oh, I thought I was mad. It kind of disarms a lot of that. So that's really important. Some children need help learning how to settle down. So you may just have to have them on your lap for a minute. Keep trying. It's a heart skill, this take a break. It does the calm down process. It teaches them that correction is not evil. It's an opportunity to settle down and change your heart. I love Laura telling me about Layton would just like have these meltdowns, and she'd get her blanket and she's like, I need to take a break. And she'd want to be put in her crib just to like, sometimes kids, they'll put themselves in timeout.
Oh yeah.
They want to take a break if something's overwhelming to them. So it's not a bad thing to teach them. And again, they'll learn it as an adult.
Right.
So that's really cool. That is take a break. Now we are going to delve into the toolbox of consequences.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
This is where everybody goes, now we're talking. I'm going to get my kid. The cool thing about the toolbox of consequences is you can kind of step out of this, because if words don't work and the take a break doesn't work, you get their attention. This is not a justice mentality. You did this, so you deserve this. This is not what we want to do. This is a map mentality. So again, you have a plan. You're not just going to react, mostly with anger, because that's what we do when children do things that we don't like. So you're going to use these questions to help you. The first one is, what lesson does my child need to learn? Are they being disobedient? Are they lying? Are they, what kind of a lesson do they need to learn? Are there any thinking errors going on here? This is a really big one. You should make my bed. You're home all day. You're not doing anything. Yeah, no. So there's a thinking error going on. And is this a heart matter, or is this just a one-time behavior thing?
Right.
Oh, well, no, you can't do that. Oh, okay. We're done. It's a words thing. So figure out those three things. And after you kind of get that, it's like, oh, what do they need to learn about this? Oh, to not do that. It may be quick as that. But you just go to your toolbox and find what they need. Okay, the first one is the natural consequence. These are those life-altering moments you just go, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to try to parent like God parents us. We make bad decisions. The outcome of those decisions aren't great. God's not going, ha, told you so, or guess what, I'm going to smite you. He's going, oh no, let me come alongside you with this. I'm sorry you made that decision, because that was bad. But let me walk alongside you. I'm here for you. I'm on your side. We are not adversaries.
Right.
So our children need to learn that we are not their adversaries. We want to help them work this out. Oh no, you broke the lamp. We talked about playing ball in the house. I'm sorry that happened. Now that's like a $25 lamp. How are we going to get the money for you to pay for that? Oh no, that's a bummer. That's a natural consequence. You broke the lamp. You got to kind of pay for it. Hey, bring your shoes off the front porch. Yeah, they're your favorite shoes. Okay, guess what? It rained overnight. The next morning, yeah, I told you to bring in your shoes and you didn't. There's a little disobey issue there, but kind of pick your battles. Guess what? They don't get to wear their favorite shoes to school. Oh no, you left your shoes outside all night and they got rained on. So you can't wear your favorite shoes. Now, I'm going to ground you for a week. No.
Right.
There was a natural consequence. I think a lot of times we think that children need a consequence for everything. You know, there were even times when Mac would do something and I'm like, dude, you know what? On this, I could do this or I could do that. I'm just going to give you grace. And then there were times he's like, can I have grace on this one? And I'm like, absolutely not. Nope. We got a consequence coming. So that natural consequence is really hard sometimes too. In the Andy Stanley and Sandra Stanley video, the Our Way, A Way, which is, you have to listen to it. If you are a parent, please listen to this. And in there they say, we don't have all the answers. This is just what worked for us. That's kind of where I'm taken. This worked for me. And so that natural consequence, but the hardest thing is don't bail, let them fail. I think too many parents come in behind and clean it up and fix it up and make it look really pretty before there's a chance for that child to feel the natural consequence.
Right.
And, you know, you don't want them to get hurt.
Right.
You don't want, you don't want them to fail out of school. When I say let them fail, it's just at something. It's
right.
not,
That's a lesson opportunity.
Right. It takes so much restraint on our part not to do the I told you so and all of that. But if this is an oh no moment. So you just like, oh no, what are we going to do about that? Oh no, that's terrible. What should we do? Because that natural consequence, Mac had a thing at one point where he was really enjoying, he's always been a concoction kid now that I think about it. I talked about him making concoctions out of the refrigerator, but he would play with my shampoo and stuff in my shower, and I had just a walk-in shower. And one day I hear this blood-curdling scream from my shower, and he had slipped and fall. And I'm like, okay, come here, buddy. And I knew exactly what had happened. And he came in and I'm like, come here. And I'm loving on him. And all of a sudden there is just blood flowing all over my hand. And I guess the way he had landed, he had a puncture wound. I have told you 1,000 times not to play in that shower. This is not the time.
Right.
It's, oh no, I did tell you that. He didn't do it anymore after that.
Yeah.
It was kind of the natural consequence.
It sounds like that, like you said, it's kind of the, because you're not responsible for that.
No.
So they shouldn't attribute worse. The feeling that he would have if you said, I told you not to do that, would add insult to injury, quite literally.
Exactly.
So when those natural consequences happen, is it hard, truly, is it hard for a parent to have the mindset? Because as you're saying, oh no, I'm like, is that even possible?
It is. That's the thing. That is why that phrase, oh no, is magic. It is magic because it takes you out of it. You go, oh no, I really mean that.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's too bad. And, sometimes there's natural consequences that you're kind of like, oh no, that's so bad. But yeah, so it is hard as a parent sometimes. And there's not always a natural consequence.
Right.
So as a parent, sometimes it is up to you to make a logical consequence. So a natural consequence didn't take place, but you kind of know what the outcome would be eventually, so you can kind of make the punishment fit the crime. That's where this is a good thing. It's a consequence for what you did. Okay, so we get a speeding ticket as a logical consequence of speeding. The natural consequence of speeding and why they have a logical consequence is because we are endangering people.
Right.
We could have a big crash. We could hit somebody. We could roll over in a ditch. We could whatever. So they have speed limits so that people will hopefully not do that. And so you get a speeding ticket. Okay, well, that's a logical consequence instead of a natural consequence.
Right,
what can we do? Okay, well, I told you repeatedly to bring your bike in from outside. You know what would happen? Eventually your bike would rust out because it's going to get rained on and you're not going to be able to ride it. Oh, well, isn't that a logical consequence? You kept leaving your bike out after I repeatedly told you to bring it in, so you just can't ride your bike for a while. How long? I don't know. Work it out. But that is a logical consequence.
Right.
Another one is you are mean to your friend every time he comes over here to play. Well, eventually that friend is not going to want to play with you anymore. Well, the logical consequence to that is you don't get a play date with that friend. So
I like this.
Yeah. So you just make the punishment fit the crime. You don't have to go overboard with it. You don't have to do whatever, but you left your bike outside. Now you're restricted from your video games.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. What does that have to do with anything?
Right.
You know, now I ask you to clean up your room and caught you back on your video game. Maybe you just don't get your video game for the rest of today. That's a logical consequence for you disobeying when I ask you to do it.
Right.
Because that's what you were doing instead.
Right.
So just because a lot of times kids are just like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
You know, you're not teaching them a lesson. You're not teaching them anything about consequences. You're just coming up with something.
Right.
To punish you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another toolbox thing is a restricting freedom. It is kind of on restriction, but what I loved is, Becky taught me this a long, long time ago, and I have used it forever, is that when you're fishing or flying a kite, if you let out too much string, it's too hard to reel it back in. It takes a really long time. You know, it's forever and it's a little tedious. Okay, well, the same with teenagers. If you just give them all kinds of freedom and then try to pull them back, that is not going to go well.
Right.
So you give them a little bit of freedom at a time. You monitor how well they handle that. Okay, we'll go out in the front yard. You can play from the yellow house to the greenhouse. Just stay in there. Well, you come out and they're all the way down at the stop sign. Guess what? Now you get to stay in the yard. You stay in our yard for a while. So you just restrict that area. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to take anything away from them. Oh, well, I gave you the freedom to take your car and stay out until 10. Well, guess what? You were out until 10:30. So now you need to be home by 9. If you can handle that 9 o'clock curfew, maybe we'll go to 9:30 and then maybe we'll go to 10. But if you just like, oh, come home whenever.
Right.
You know, and then all of a sudden you're mad because they didn't get home at 10 o'clock that one night.
Right.
You know,
or saying you can never go out again. I feel like there's extremes.
You are grounded for a week.
Yeah.
You know, so teach them a lesson. Literally, I'm not talking about, I'm going to teach you a lesson.
Right.
You are literally teaching them a lesson. So you're teaching them basically that with privilege becomes responsibility. And your privilege is gauged by how responsible you are with it.
Right.
And so that's always a good one. Another tool is more parental control. Ooh. This is where you come alongside them. This is the thing you don't have time for, so you don't want to really ever have to use it, but you do. So I told you over and over and over and over to do your homework, and you're not doing your homework. So guess what? I'm going to sit at the dining room table with you. I'm reading a magazine. If you need some help, you know, that's fine, but you're going to sit here. Okay, you really need to do this. You're not focusing. Let's get this going. It's really important, and it depends on what the situation is. You can role play with that. Like maybe we should try it this way. I told you to practice the piano. Guess what? I'm going to sit on the bench with you while you practice. No, that would have done no good for me because I did not really know what they were doing.
Right.
But I knew the keys were going, and even then, maybe I ask you to practice. Okay, I don't hear the piano. You should be practicing. So you need to just be on top of it. And it does take time. And I'm so sorry for that, but it really does. One of the things that worked really well with Mac, remember the AR tests? They had to read and then take the little test at school and they'd get points.
Yeah.
Well, Mac just wasn't doing very well at all. And he was reading 20 minutes every night, but he just... I don't know if he wasn't retaining it or what's going on, but that required more parental control. So what we started doing was, it wasn't how long you read, it was how many pages. So I would think, okay, well, 15 pages in 20 minutes for this book, it should be plenty. And then I would read those 15 pages and do it, because for 20 minutes, he's literally sitting in his room, staring at the ceiling, kicking the side of his bed. He wasn't really reading for 20 minutes. So that required me kind of concentrating too on what he was doing. So, just paying more attention.
Right.
And kind of getting in there. And again, it's coming alongside your child to help them be successful. Maybe while they're doing the homework at the table with you, you find out, I'm so dumb at math. I'm not as good as my sister. I can't do math. Oh, thinking errors. What does my child need to hear? I need to say it 10 more times and they need to hear it. That's why they're not enjoying their math homework. They think they're stupid at math. You know what? You are not stupid at math. Remember that test you took last time? It was so good. What do you need help with? In my case, it was if they were in third grade, let me go get your sister. Yeah, after third grade, I probably gave up the math ghost there. But just that little bit. And it shows your kid you care. And that's cool. Yeah. Now, there is a tool out there that people know as spanking. And people want to say it's biblical, spare the rod, spoil the child, whatever. I don't think it's a good idea. And I kind of touched on this briefly, and I forgot what the third thing was in the intro podcast.
Here we go.
Here we go. So number one is do not spank your child out of anger. Somebody's going to get hurt, and it's probably going to be your kid, and you really don't want to be responsible for that. Just do not. This is a great time for you to go take a break. If you want to spank your child, go take a break. If you want to spank your child later, it's a controlled situation, and you're not just doing it out of anger.
Right.
That is just never good. I think if you wanted to get a child's attention, like a small child that is moving towards a hot stove or a light socket, and you grab them by the arm and maybe pop them on the diaper, that gets their attention enough to go, what?
Right.
Okay, no, if you need to catch them that quick. But as far as like really hitting a child,
right.
Like I said, if you want to teach your child to hit them.
Right.
The other time is if it's not working. If your child is taunting you, that doesn't even hurt. Somebody is going to get hurt. You're going to keep doing it until they feel it.
Right.
And that's not good either. And lastly, do not spank if it is a stepchild, a foster child, a neighbor's kid. If it's not your kid, don't do it. I just recommend not. I think the squeeze is very effective. Again, let's tell them Becky. In church, Ryan said that she had the vice grip on his knee.
Oh, yeah.
How a horse bites an apple thing. You are misbehaving in church. I got a hold
Such a good
of you.
description. Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I got a hold of you and we're going to stop.
Right.
And if you aren't able to speak it out, that's a good way to do it. The ear. I have a great ear story. So, Maya and Kelly and I are at the beach. I wonder if Maya will listen to these one day. It'll be great. She's such my little guinea pig too. We were at the beach one day and Kelly's like, okay, let's go. No. And she was doing the whole no. And I'm like, Kelly, pick her up by the ear and take her to the car. She's like, I can't. Like, look at all these people around here. And I'm like, okay, you grab the stuff. I've got this. And I grab Maya by the ear and I'm just walking out the beach with her. And she's screaming at the top of it, you're hurting me. Let go of me. You're hurting me. And Kelly was like behind me and she cracked up. We got to the car and she's like, everybody was looking at you like, oh. Like she said, nobody batted an eye. Yeah. She's like, it looked like you were kidnapping her. And it was just like, and no, everybody was like, yeah, must have said no, we're not leaving the beach. She's like, everybody got it. And I'm like, yeah. And I was not hurting her, by the way. So, but yeah, I'm not a fan. I'll just say.
Wait, you're not a fan of spanking?
Spanking.
Yeah.
No.
I am not either. And I think that may have also been a cultural thing. I feel like at least parents that are kind of closer to my age, I think a lot of them have gone away, maybe sometimes too far away from that physical discipline. Yeah. So what would you say, like gauging that? Cause you said like a pop on the diaper and like grabbing the ear. Is that something that's like, do it for the pay attention?
It's really just for that. No, I mean what I say. We are leaving now. That up under the arm is very sensitive. And, you can just take that. We are going now. Right. And, and these things, like I said, in the context of relationship and these things done when they're younger, these aren't, they will escalate. And you will get into physical altercations when they're your size. Right. This is when they're little, you just kind of get their attention. It's not to hurt them. Right. And
it's not you're going to have to do this every single time. That's like a last resort.
Right.
Okay.
No. Yeah. And don't count to 3. It's a whole nother story. Another really good tool in your toolbox are other leaders and authorities. I love this. Surround yourself with people who get your kid, who know your child, who can talk to your child about things, coaches, teachers. There's that one teacher that your child talks about that they really respect. Have them talk to them. Pastors, our children's directors at Suncoast are amazing and they love your children and they have a relationship with your child. What's going on at home? Why are you sad at home? What's happening? Talk to them about it. One time my son was on a lacrosse team And at the end of they were doing this just end of the year party. And the coach kind of sat the guys down, and they were probably 7th grade, I think, maybe 7th or 8th grade. And they had just had this amazing season, and he just sat down and said, "You are a great bunch of guys, and just really enjoyed, having you." And he said, "Can I just tell you, be careful what you look at. Protect your eyes. You're going to have friends that can look things up on the internet. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can see, and you know what? Max said that just stuck with him. He was like, it was a 10-minute talk when he was in 7th grade, but it was this, oh, yeah. So let them hear it from other people.
Yeah.
And make sure you have those people in their lives. It's important to do that. Like even with me and Kelly and Maya, she would just go, "I can't discipline this child all by myself all the time. I just can't be the meanie all the time." And I'm like, "Bring her over. I got this."
Yeah.
And she had other friends. She had Liz, and she had these other, she surrounded herself with people that could actually help her when she needed that.
Yeah.
And I think that you find somebody too, as a parent or as a grandparent that's raising the kids, you find somebody a little farther ahead in the game than you and find out what worked for them. That was Becky for me. Her kids were just ahead of mine, and it was like, "What did you do about this?" Or, "Did you ever have to deal with this?" Or, "What should I do? I don't know what's happening. I can't fix this." So find those people that are dealing with the things that you're dealing with and talk to them.
And even just for like resources for parents, like the internet really is full of people who make videos about their experiences. You go on YouTube and you're like, "How do I deal with this thing?" Which people can find these videos on YouTube as well. But there are people who are more open about their struggles just because they know this does help people feel a little less alone.
Oh yeah. So find authorities. This even prepares them for other relationships, like, and that don't bail, let them fail kind of thing. If they're having a hard time with their teacher, "I'm going to march down to that school and I'm going to tell that teacher what for. She has it out for my kid." No, this is a really good teaching moment. Your child is going to have bosses and coworkers and people that they don't get along with. They need to learn these life lessons of how to work it out. Now you can coach them through it. "I know your coach hasn't been letting you play. What do you think's going on there?" "Well, I called him a big fat bald idiot." And it's like, okay, probably not the best way to handle that. What could you say to your coach? Why aren't you getting put on? What's happening? Like help them work through these relationships with authority figures, and that's a good learning thing too. So always. And then practice what's doing right. Practice what is right. This is role playing. This is great. Do it with your kids. It's so easy. What could you have said differently? How could we have handled this differently? Like they, "Hey, Sally, can you come here a minute?" "What?" "Oh, no, ma'am. Why don't you turn around and go back and we're going to try that again." "Hey, Sally." "Yes, ma'am." "Yes, I'm sorry. Well, what do you need?" "Okay, thank you." That was a much better response. Teach them proper responses. It's how kids learn things. And I loved the 1 to 5 being the teaching years, the 5 to 12 being or 1 to 5 is the discipline years, 5 to 12 being the teaching years, and then over 12 being the coaching years. If you do any of these things too late, if you're trying to discipline your 12 to 18-year-old, it's so hard. It's really hard. Again, you try with the logical consequences and that type of thing, but they're bigger than you. They have keys to a car. They're out of here. Where are they?
Yeah.
They still they have responsibilities. They have a job. They have Mac had a friend that was constantly on restriction. Like, "Hey, where's he been?" "Oh, he's on restriction." "Oh." And then it's like, hey, how you doing? "Oh, so good to see you." "Well, where's he been?" "Oh, he's on restriction." I'm like, how's that working for you?
Yeah.
You need to find out what works for your child. What's their currency? And do the positive side of that. If you will do this, then we can. Instead of, if you do this, we are not. Oh, please avoid the if you do, we don't. We are not going to Disney this weekend.
Yeah.
I actually had a friend that said that to her. She was like, "If you don't do what I just asked you to do," she's like, "I know, we're not going to Disney this weekend. I'm sorry, you have tickets, you have you're going to Disney."
Yeah.
And why are you punishing the rest of the family?
Right.
So try to avoid that. If you don't, then mentality, because that's not going to go well for you. Yeah, you're going to get grounded too.
Because there shouldn't be an if you don't.
No.
Don't give them that option.
Right. So just plan. Be creative. If you cannot think of anything, if you've tried something and it didn't work, take a step back. Just, hey, I got to go take a break and decide what we're going to do about that. Ask the child what they think should happen to them. They're so much harder on themselves than we are.
Yeah.
They really are. So, but again, start with words, do the consequence, and then, close it. So that is a huge thing. The ending discipline times with impact. Make sure they learn something. Like, don't just, taught them a lesson. No, let's make sure they learned it. So for ending time with a discipline with impact, you're going to ask 3 questions, and then you've got a statement.
Nice.
Okay. So the first question is, what did you do wrong? This is not said harsh or mean or condescending, or confession is literally a skill we need to learn as people. Not, well, because she made me, he told me to. Well, if they jumped off a cliff, would you? The confession is really huge. It teaches courage. It teaches humility. It teaches personal responsibility, which is one of our core values at Suncoast. It's so important that if you get ahead of it, you aren't punished. So if your child comes to tell you that they did something wrong and your first reaction is to freak out, do you think they're going to come and tell you what they did wrong the next time?
Right.
So it's really tough. So we need to teach children to take personal responsibility. And again, this is a really good thing for adulthood. And they'll equate it with how it went as a child. Have you ever done something where you just had to confess it because that thing was boiling around in your stomach? And do you want your child to walk around feeling that way? That guilt and that depression and that, I should have told somebody I did this. I think I mentioned earlier that I used to be a research nerd, and I worked for a marketing research firm that did investment bankers and counselors. And I did a client satisfaction study, and I accidentally left the competition's name in the study. I was a big girl when I did this one, and I had to walk into my boss's office and sit down and go, so, not just my boss, but the head of the company, and say, so I sent this out. And he's like, okay. So I had to call the client and say there was an error in his report, and I would send out the next one for the next day if he could please just throw those away. I don't know. He probably opened it, got to read all about it. I don't know, but I did what I could do. But if that client would have called and told that, you know, so it was an adult thing I had to do. But if you teach those things to the kids, and then of course my boss was like, what are we going to do? You talk it out. So that's just a really important skill.
Right.
So what did you do wrong? And if they can't answer it, if they're little, you may have to help them with that question. But I do have to say that there's usually the culprits. So your second question is, why was that wrong? So they may have hit their sister. Why was that wrong? Because it was hurtful. If a child can't answer why what they did was wrong, well, I hit my sister. Why is that wrong? I don't know. There hasn't been a heart change. So this is a good gauge of what that heart change is. Do you know why that's wrong? Maybe you know, and again, age appropriate, how do you handle that? Disobeying rules leads to broken trust, and broken trust leads to damaged relationships. There's 3 general rules of family life, and more than likely or not, one of them is the culprit, and that is they didn't obey, they didn't show respect, or they weren't kind. So why was hitting your sister wrong? It wasn't nice. That's right. It wasn't very nice. Why what you just did, why that I walked into your room and it isn't cleaned up? Why was that wrong? You should have cleaned up your room. Well, I didn't obey you. Or, you said some really hurtful things. Why is that bad? Oh, because that wasn't very respectful. So there are some things, and you can make what are rule breakers in your house. If these are rule breakers in your house, and some things you can let go. I'm just saying, like, not everything has to have a consequence. So it's really hard, but they need to know what they did wrong and what are you going to do differently next time. That is your third question. And this turns discipline into a positive conclusion. It turns it into a teaching moment. It gives your child options. Oh, yeah, I could do that. Never thought of that.
Right.
So now they're learning to do things. And again, it's the role play. Think about the next time. Role play. Okay, how are you going to word that differently? How could you tell your friend that you want to share that toy instead of taking it away? Just different scenarios and how you're going to do it. For now, I'm going to take that toy and we're going to talk about it. So the statement, so those are your three questions. What did you do wrong? Why was that wrong? What are we going to do differently next time? And then it's your turn. This is your statement. Go and do good again. Go and make better decisions. Okay, well, good. Now that you understand that, go and do better. I mean, even Jesus with the woman at the well, go do better. Okay, well, I get it. Yeah, that's probably not great decisions you made, but go do better.
Right.
And again, we just want to be beside our children. We want them to be learning. We don't want them to have that sick feeling and this closure and this it tears down those walls. I'm not hiding anything from you, so I don't have to hide from you. It's really all about your relationship. So some of the benefits of the positive conclusion, even if you do this in a 30-second step, what are you doing? I'm running in the grand hall. Why is that wrong? Oh, because I could slip and fall. That's right. Or you could bump into somebody and hurt them. That's right. Are you going to walk now? Yes. Okay, go do better. Done. 30 seconds.
Right.
It is that simple to teach a whole routine. And that's a whole discipline routine in itself. If they get it, they don't have to be in trouble.
Right.
If they know what they're doing is wrong. So, and it just brings the closeness back. So that's really great. The difference between a punishment and discipline is very important to learn. A punishment is negative and discipline is positive. It's teaching the child something. Punishment focuses on the misdeed. This is what you did wrong. And it just makes a child feel bad. And the discipline focuses on the future. How are you going to do it better? The punishment is motivated by anger. You're going to get it for what you did. And the discipline is motivated out of love. I want you to do better. I want you to make better decisions. We want our kids to thrive and grow and have wisdom.
Right.
And so that's what that is happening. And then punishment is the justice to balance the scales. You did this, you deserve that,
right,
kind of thing. And it's not. It's focusing on learning for them. Now, a refrigerator magnet.
Have another magnet.
Yay!
Nice.
And this is called the mature apology.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, if your child can do this, then they have just done this whole routine in 1 second. So, I am sorry I hit my sister, blank, because that was unkind. There's your other blank. Next time, I will come and get you if I am mad at my sister. Done. Look.
All three of those, yeah.
Bam. They just answered the questions. So your response to that is, what will you do differently next time? Or do they want to say, please forgive me? Or do you want to go apologize to your sister? Okay, well, that's great. Okay, we'll go and do better. Done.
Beautiful.
Whole routine.
And
right here.
Like the other ones, if people really, really want these magnets,
Yeah.
can they email you?
They can email me at susanh@suncoastcommunity.com.
And you'll get yourself a magnet.
I get you a refrigerator magnet. I gotta
love
tell
it.
you, that complete proposal thing, they'll save your
Yeah.
middle schooler's life.
Nice.
Just a few things too about corrective solutions, and I kind of briefly mentioned them in the teaching a child to say no, but the words are very important. So if you have a problem with your child, confront them directly. Don't try to sneakily punish them. This is why we're doing it. We just haven't been being very respectful lately. This is how we need that to change. Just confront directly. Another one is maybe make an observation. So Kylie and Max sitting at the counter, the bar counter, eating breakfast in the morning, and Kylie says something really unkind to Mac. It's like you kind of, I call it the drive-by, observe and run. You go, well, that was rude, or that was kind of mean to your brother, and you just keep going. And you hear in the background her go, oh, sorry, buddy, I was just trying to be funny. If you just make the observation, maybe she just thought she was being sarcastic. Maybe she just thought it was funny, but I think that kind of hurt your brother's feelings. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. So sometimes we don't have to have a family meeting over the fact that you just said something ugly to your brother.
Right.
Consider the timing. Again, if they're hungry, if they're tired, if they just had a bad day at school, all of that, just let it go. Later, go to them and go, when you got home from school today, I didn't really like the way you talked to me back there. It was really disrespectful. Half the time you're going to get I'm sorry, Mom. I was just really upset. I'm sorry. I was hangry, So, but if you want to escalate the situation, you just take that bait right then and there, and it'll just get bigger. And again, just teach a child a better response. Like, okay, well, I didn't like the way you talked to me back there. I understand you were tired and hungry, and it's okay, but let's just kind of watch the way we talk to each other. It's just how it is. And we need to look at our attitudes. Like if we're always in a bad mood when we come home from work, I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast or not, but one of the things I loved is Jamie Lee Curtis was on an interview, and she said, Mommy gets to go to work today. My kids grew up with such a different outlook on work because, my roles, I'd get them, they'd be few and far in between. And so I get to go to work today. This is great. I'm on a movie now, or I'm on a show, or I get to go to work. And she said, I watched my kids kind of grow up with that attitude. It's not if every day you're like, I gotta go to work.
Right.
Your kids are going to have a different attitude on what work looks like.
Right.
So I think that's really important. Just where your attitudes lie is where your kids will too.
Right.
So go and do better.
I love it. So
isn't it good?
Yeah.
This stuff is so magical. And if you just keep it in the context of your relationship with your kids, the work on the front end just seems so hard and so time consuming, but just keeping in mind it's a season. And then the later you just get to reap the benefits.
Right. You
have this amazing relationship with your kids. And when they're in high school, I just kept having so many people go, yeah, well, wait till she's 13. She's 13. Wait until she starts driving. That's going to be when you get your comeuppance. I'm like, well, I'm not that bad of a kid, but okay. She's 16,
right.
And I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I never had that with my kids.
Right.
I'm not going to say they're perfect, and I'm not going to say they didn't get in some trouble, because they did, but it was how that was handled when it came up. It's like, oh no. What are we going to do now?
Yeah. And literally the proof is in the pudding. I don't like taking advice from somebody that you can just tell, like, I don't think you're taking that yourself. But you were just telling me the other day in the office that all three of you guys have little lamps, touch lamps.
Our touch lamps from Uncommon Goods.
Yeah. And you guys are all in different areas. So you're physically apart, but then these lamps, you guys use it, like the kids, it's kind of like a competition. And I'm that just shows you've built a strong relationship with them, and that they respect you, and you weren't just their friend all along,
No.
It became you were a parent.
You don't get to be their friend until they're out of the house.
Right. So
no.
That's what I love about this whole thing, is that you actually did put this into practice, and you were looking for this kind of stuff. It wasn't just like, I'm at the end of my rope, what do I do? It's like it's kind of preventative.
Oh, it is. So totally preventative.
Right.
But there were things I think when I first found parenting as heart work, my kids were 12 and 8 maybe-ish, so still a little older. Yeah. And it wasn't so many of the things I've read, well, if you haven't established these things by the time they're 5, and it's like, no, just now it was kind of easier because it was older, and it's like, I'm going to start giving you directions like this, and you're going to start reporting back.
Right.
And then I'm going to tell you what do I expect. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, they're smart.
Right.
Every once in a while, Mac would go, is this one of those church things? As a matter of fact, it is, guinea pig. Get over here. We're going to see if this really works.
Right.
And so they were kind of guinea pigs, but it did work.
Right.
It really did help. And as I look back on the different things, it was like, oh, that was so helpful. And I tell people all the time, this stuff is magic, people.
Right. And it's not just for parents.
No.
It's for... as you're going through these things, I'm just like, ooh, I can't wait to put this into practice, because now I'm aware of, when this is happening, let me try this.
And these podcasts, I'm so happy y'all are letting me do these. I think they're great, but in the classroom, there's a lot of give and take and talking back and forth. And as I said, the discipline one usually takes a lot longer because the parents are coming in. I'm really dealing with this. I'm struggling here. I'm doing that. I totally get it, because there are periods where you just feel like this is never going to be okay again. And They're not. They're going to be fine. You're
Right.
going to be fine.
Ooh, how about
Yeah.
this? Since people watching online, maybe they won't be able to have that feedback in class form.
Right.
Comments. Leave a comment
Sure.
if you have something that you're like, okay, I
please.
hear you, but this is my issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I
can
would
answer
love
'em.
that. I'll be Dr. Sue.
Yes.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Floating around in the comments.
Hey, if I don't have the answer, I'll try to find it for you. Though.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
I
love
love
it.
this. Okay. So we
Thank
have,
you.
this is a whole playlist, by the
But
way.
please come take my class too. I
Yes.
usually do one in the spring and one in the fall. So if you are interested in doing that, leave a comment as well and I'll get you signed up.
Perfect.
Yay.
And this is a whole playlist. We have, I think, 4 or 5 videos on this whole
Yeah.
thing. Just check it out. They're all going to be within, reach of each other. But
Yay.
yeah, thanks, Susan.
Hey, thanks for letting me do this. This was really fun.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
All right. We out.
Peace and out.